They say you can find anything on YouTube, so why not this? I found this wheel right here, this ship's wheel, helm, and but it's got a couple of broken spokes on it, or whatever you call these things. I think you call them spokes, handles. Anyhow, I'm gonna fix this thing. Stick around, I'm gonna show you how I did it. Hi, my name is Bob, and I love my two-car garage. Yeah, I gotta get this old spoke or handle out of here before I make my new one, because I want to see what's going on down here. Might be a little bit of a challenge to get that old nut off that old bolt, but we can do it. Just gonna take that one off though. Not gonna take the entire plate off, and I'll just stuff the new one down inside the hole. So this whole thing is held together with these strips that are on the front and on the back that hold the whole wheel together, and it's kind of like a wood sandwich. And so I'm gonna remake this spoke, of course, or the wheel, and then I'm gonna remake this piece on the back side that holds the whole thing together. First thing I did is I measured out what kind of wood I needed, or I figured out what kind of wood I needed for my helm, and I'm pretty sure that it's oak. Might be white oak, but I'm using red oak. I had to laminate a couple of pieces together to get the right size, and I'm gonna turn this, make myself a new spoke or handle on the lathe that I set up a couple of weeks ago. Kind of cool that I get to brush up on my lathe working skills as well. Now I'm going to use a pair of outside calipers to check my diameters in certain places on the spoke. Make it as much like the original as possible. Cool thing is as I check out this original wheel, each of these spokes is a little bit different, which tells me that it's the real deal. It was done by hand. There weren't any templates involved or CNC equipment. This guy was hand done, which is pretty cool. You know, when you're working on the lathe, if you use a really sharp chisel, you don't even need to sand it. But sanding is so easy on the lathe. I just love to do it. All right, it's pretty much done. I need to use my parting tool right now to stop this thing. This is always the scary part to me because I'm afraid it's gonna break, but I'm hoping for the best. I'm gonna go as far as I can and hope it doesn't come flying off. I cut the end of this off on the bandsaw, and I'm going to just sand it off, which is exactly the way they would have done it in the old days. But they probably would have done it by hand. I'm going to use my random orbital sander. I bet if they had one of these in the old days, they would have used it. I had to make some modifications here on the end to get it to fit inside here. That was pretty easy. Now, the more I get into this repair, it looks like this wheel was made out of a lot of different kinds of wood. I turned the spoke, of course, or the handle, out of red oak, but looks like there's some mahogany in here and just a hodgepodge of stuff. So I have this Brazilian teak, or tiger wood it's called sometimes, that I used for a deck that I made. I'm gonna plane this down to a 1/2 inch, which is about the thickness of these little curve-shaped pieces that kind of hold the whole thing together. I'm going to use that for that. So we're going to end up with a kind of again, a hodgepodge of wood here to put this thing back together. Originally, that was kind of the way it was done, so I like it. All right, so for this little piece right here, it's going to fit right in there. First, I planed it down on my little planer, and then I cut it out on the bandsaw. I chopped it off with my little chop saw to fit that space right there, and then I sanded it off. I needed to remove and replace some of these pieces that were just old and broken up and rotted out, and The screws, of course, were all rusty and they were slotted, and I couldn't get them out with a regular screwdriver. So I used my small pry bar and even some small vice grips to get those screws out. But everything came out pretty well. I went ahead and pre-stained this with pretty much the same color. I got a pretty good match as the original deal. I'm going to go ahead and slide this in place. Bolt it down in the middle. I used some stainless steel screws to attach these rim arches. Now, rather than remove and replace every broken piece, I also just glued up and clamped some of the pieces and repaired them, because I figured that they would hold together just fine that way. And I wanted to keep this as original as possible. And once all the repairs were good and dry, then I went back and just sanded the whole thing. I really just roughed it up with some 120 sandpaper and actually took that opportunity to make it look old. So I kind of overdid it with the sanding, but I wanted it to blend in with the old wheel. And then I came back and just re-stained the whole thing. I used a brass screw right here, or a brass bolt, which is going to look great once it gets a little older. But right here I use stainless steel, which is probably going to stay looking that way, and I don't like that, so I'm going to touch that up with a little just black paint just to make it look a little older. Well, I found this piece of African mahogany, and I'm going to use this as a mounting plate because we're going to put this on display someplace. So I'm going to glue these two pieces together and we'll have a nice pretty piece of wood to mount this wheel to. And I thought it would look kind of cool to have some bolts in each corner here. I was going to try to find some brass ones, but I just ended up with some plain old zinc bolts, and I also thought about rusting them on purpose, but dipping them in some muriatic acid or vinegar or something like that, which is a great idea if you want to age stuff. But I think I'm just going to mount them like they are and let nature take its course. All right, well, there we have it, almost all ready to mount on the wall someplace. I got a couple of washers on the back side. I got a big carriage bolt coming through the middle, a washer, a spacer, another washer, and then two washers locked together so it can spin around without coming undone. And then on the front side right here, we're going to put this custom-made cap, just like that. And I think we're just going to stick that on there with some hot glue. Well, I'd like to spray this because it's got so many nooks and crannies in it, it's kind of hard to brush, but it's raining outside right now, so I guess I'm going to have to brush it on. I think a good boat guy would tell you it's better to brush it on anyway. Now I'm probably going to give this one more coat of varnish, but this really is the finished deal right here. And I'm going to mount it someplace important. I don't know where, but it's going to look good someplace. Hey, I want to leave you today with this proverb that says, "He is on the path of life who heeds instruction, but he who forsakes reproof goes astray." Now, what does that mean to me today? It means I need to keep on learning because I got a lot to learn. As a matter of fact, I went out this week and bought a book from one of my favorite authors that I think I need. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.